Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Here we are again from we're starting to call it the Phallic Liebhaber Studios in beautiful downtown Royal Oak, Michigan. We're just a few blocks from downtown, so I think we can claim that. It is very nice to be with everybody tonight. We miss you terribly, but we're so glad we have this technology to enable us to celebrate Shabbat together. I will be, as I am able, posting some of the greetings that you all send through the comments to the top of the screen. I want to remind you that if you're not seeing the live chat box, it's probably because you don't have a YouTube account. You have to sign up for YouTube. It's free. If you have a google.com account, you can use the same passwords and everything and just log in through Google and then go to YouTube. They are the same people. So we will try to keep posting these, and it'll be nice the more of us that can say hello to each other. I see that our Scottish contingent, Scottish contingent is in the house. Jamie Hines, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Arthur tells me he's with you on the Humanistic Jewish Discussion group, so it's great to have the international flair and participation, and we hope someday to be able to welcome you to the Mitten and get to know you in person. We are now going to start, and I hope that you all have noticed there is a link underneath the video, so you can follow along with the service if you want. But we're going to start with one of my favorite tunes. It's actually a tune from the Reform movement. It's traditionally a morning prayer. We've edited and changed it up a little bit so that it's more appropriate for Kabbalat Shabbat and for a non-theistic framework. But it does say in it, Ma tovu, how goodly are your tents, O Jacob, and your dwelling places, O Israel. So it's really one of those things that you sing when you come into synagogue, or that you, according to tradition, say, well, we're not in an actual synagogue right now, but that doesn't mean that our tents are less connected. They're just connected via this wonderful invention of Wi-Fi. So let's start our service with Ma tovu. We'll continue as we light our candles, and I will turn to Arthur to ask that he do that as we listen to the blessing for Shabbat candles.
Baruch haor ba'olam, Baruch haor ba'adam, Baruch haor ba'shalom, ba'shalom, Baruch haor, Baruch
invite you to take whatever adult beverage you have. We have wine here for Shabbat, a little bit more traditional. And we raise our cups together and we say, L'chaim, to life. And let's remember that we are in the middle of life right now. This is not lost time. This is real time. And it's part of what we're living. And there's much to learn from it. L'chaim, l'chaim. Just a reminder that the chat box is not just for saying Shabbat Shalom, but if you have any live well wishes, I can read those later. And if you have anybody who you'd like to memorialize, I will read those later as well. Please remember to indicate which is which and to get them in early because we are on a little bit of a delay. Live doesn't always mean live. We're just a little less than live. I chose this particular reading tonight. We haven't looked at it in a long time because for me, Sherwin's words here, as he writes about courage, become even more important as we get further into this crisis. Life is filled with danger. It lingers everywhere and will not go away. There are so many things to fear: poverty and disease, storms and earthquakes, violence and war. They intrude on human history and cannot wait to return. Other people speak of heaven and promise another place in another world where danger will vanish. But worlds without danger are fantasies. Disease is real. Fear persists. To live life honestly with no attempt to deny the darker side of reality is hard. To face the truth with no effort to hide from the facts of human nature and human existence is frightening. Yet what else is the life of courage? We cannot be brave if danger is an illusion. Courage begins with honesty, the willingness to confront the world as it is, not merely as we want it to be. We continue with Afo Ori.
Tikvati, tikvati bi, evo kochi, kochi bi, vegam bach, evo kochi, kochi bi, vegam bach. Where is my light? My light is in me. Where is my hope? My hope is in me. Where is my strength? My strength is in me. And in you, and in you. Where is my strength? My strength is in me. And in you, and in you.
In my newsletter commentary this week, I wrote about the new wave of pseudoscientific products and cures that have been just about everywhere the past few days. From injecting disinfectants to inserting UV light, neither of which could ever possibly work, to the bleach drink that one church in Florida has been selling, calling it a miracle mineral solution. The desire for instant answers is overwhelming. Talk of reopening, and even at least one state that has proceeded with that has exacerbated this. It seems that these days everyone is embracing pseudoscientific thinking. Pseudoscience is the reasonable sounding but dangerous twin of supernaturalism. Like supernaturalism, it emerges from magical thinking. Unlike the religious or spiritual types of magical thinking, pseudoscience, the science of snake oil salesmen, pretends it is real science. It is not. In some ways, those of us critical of religious magical thinking should be far more worried about pseudoscience because it affects us too. Those who choose to place their faith in God have always been at least a little aware that their versions of God and his superpowers don't always align with reality. That is why they freely acknowledge that sometimes their faith is really more of a leap of faith. But what are they leaping over? They're leaping over facts in evidence, not just scientific facts, but actual facts about their own lives. When prayers for healing are ineffective, and they are always ineffective, believers are forced to invent reasons for their failure. Those inventions are part of that leap. Someone is sick. Everyone prays for God to heal them. They die anyway, and, oh well, it was God's will. We cannot understand his mystery. We've all heard these justifications. Those are the leaps. As I wrote on Tuesday, humanists certainly have many beliefs, and one of these, it would not be incorrect to call it a faith, is in the power of science and medicine. But there is no leaping involved in our faith in science and medicine. For us, faith means proven trust, not assumed, not wished for trust. Science and medicine have proven themselves. I mentioned in my newsletter commentary that I'm finishing up Rachel Kadish's novel, The Weight of Ink, about the small late 17th century Jewish community of London. When I got to the part about the summer of 1665, I was reminded about the Great Plague. During that pandemic, 1/4 of London's population died. And that wasn't even the worst outbreak of that particular plague. Earlier instances of what came to be called the Black Death killed off 1/3 to 1/2 of the populations where it broke out. In addition to completely useless pleas to God for these plagues to end, the means used to control them, quite unsuccessfully as it turned out, were basically all pseudoscientific guesses. That's why the Lord Mayor of London ordered all the cats and dogs killed. If he'd had any kind of real science, he would have known that the cats controlled the rat population that was helping to spread the plague. The science of disease transmission began to assert itself in the decade that followed the London outbreak, when a Dutchman named Antony van Leeuwenhoek, using a special microscope of his own design, discovered bacteria. Today, we call him the father of microbiology. His innovations ultimately led us to pretty much everything we know about epidemiology and many other branches of science. But I did say ultimately. The reason that pseudoscience continues to attract even people like us, who love and accept medical science as the only path out of this mess, is that we are hesitant to accept the downside. It takes a long time. This disaster is not like a hurricane that we could see coming and choose to prepare for or not, and then if hit, begin to emerge when it's over, to clean up, to rebuild. A pandemic is a slow-moving calamity that does not lend itself to quick answers, and whose end, while fully expected, is not yet known. Our modern mythos has led us to believe that science makes its greatest advances via eureka moments of great discoveries. It does not. Alexander Graham Bell did not deliver the telephone with one declaration of, "Mr. Watson, come here, I need you." It's not even clear that he invented it at all. Thomas Edison's mythology credits him with a lot of inventions, each of them evoking a kind of eureka imagery rather than reflecting the painstaking work of researchers in his and others' labs over decades. In reality, few to none of the greatest modern scientific advances have been the result of a perfect one-time insight and experiment. They have actually been the result of a process of slow trials, errors, and corrections. This is even more true of medical science. In an article in The Atlantic that I've linked beneath the video, you have to push that little show more piece there, staff writer Ed Young discusses why the coronavirus is so confusing. He reminds us of the largeness of the problem at hand. There are a lot of moving parts. For example, scientists have noted that the virus is really hard to grow in cell cultures, making them harder to study. That the fatality rate is difficult to assess due to lags in testing. That the causes of death are hard to categorize because in some cases treatments are contributing to mortality. That the experimental medicines don't work the same on everyone and can work for some and harm others. And that the same may hold true for an eventual vaccine, meaning that we may need more than one for different populations. These are just a few examples of the complexity of the problems that scientists are trying to solve. None of this is comforting, except when we consider the alternative. Our faith in science and medicine is well placed and well deserved, but it requires us to fully understand it. As Young writes, this is how science actually works. It's less the parade of decisive blockbuster discoveries that the press often portrays, and more a slow, erratic stumble toward ever less uncertainty. Our understanding oscillates at first, but converges on an answer, says Natalie Dean, a statistician at the University of Florida. That's the normal scientific process, but it looks jarring to people who aren't used to it. Those with faith in God have thousands of years of experience in what to do when God fails to produce their desired outcome. They simply move the goalposts. Imaginary gods respond very well to imaginary changes and expectations. Those with faith in medical science are susceptible, though, to falling into the same trap. But neither our imaginations nor our desires can alter the methodologies of science. When we engage in pseudo-scientific explanations or advice, regarding it as being, perhaps we think, based on the scientific method, we demonstrate our misunderstandings of that process. This is because we want our new faith to reassure us the way that the old faith in God once did. But that is not the job of medical science. The job of medical science is to mitigate and to cure. And with a brand new pathogen, that takes time and patience. As The Atlantic also noted, citing Dr. Thomas Inglesby of the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, the impulse to be reassuring is understandable, but the most important thing is to be as accurate as possible. We should give people, he says, information so they can do what they think is right. We should tell people what we don't know and when we'll know more. So can medical science reassure us at all? Well, yes, if we're willing to accept it on its own terms. Its own terms demand an incredible amount of patience. More patience than we social creatures trapped in our homes and getting understandably antsy might feel that we have the ability to demonstrate. Even members of our own community have said to me in recent weeks, "I'll be glad when July comes and we're out of this." We're not going to be out of this in July. The rate of infections and deaths has only begun to flatten because we're doing what we're doing. If we stop doing it, they will rise. Does that mean we won't be able to slowly return to some normal activities? Maybe a few. It's hard to say. It's not my field. The science of the disease is such that we now know more about how it is transmitted, so possibly, depending upon our own levels of risk and that of the people we're connected to, we might decide to alter some responses in some small ways. In Michigan, we can get our lawns mowed now, so there's that. But older and at-risk individuals shouldn't plan on trips to the theaters, museums, or mall anytime soon. The bottom line for all of us to remember is that medical science is hard at work, but that science does not work on our preferred schedule. To be effective, it must proceed methodically, and that takes time, which requires our patience. As humanists, right now, this is the most realistic idea and the best reassurance that we have to offer ourselves and one another. Forbearance, restraint, patience. Let us draw from each other to cultivate these qualities, doing all that is in our power to stop the spread of this virus. We'll continue now with our readings. This one, I believe, was adopted by Rabbi Naomi Cohen. I think I forgot to cite her this, my apologies. We gather tonight during this time of deep global concern in the only way that we can. Our thoughts turn to all the inhabitants of our vulnerable world, now so seriously afflicted. Even as we extend our consolations to bereaved families, we send hopes of a speedy and complete recovery to all who have become ill. Our thoughts turn to those who are struggling. May they be strengthened by the support of loved ones, of friends, and community. Then may all of us discover resilience and hope as we make our way through this crisis. May wisdom guide those who seek a cure. May compassion grace the efforts of all those who offer comfort. May our leaders and their advisors be informed by knowledge and foresight to act with wisdom and sincerity for the well-being of all whom they serve. Let us show gratitude to the doctors, nurses, other healthcare professionals, and their support teams who tirelessly seek to heal and help those afflicted, while in doing so, putting themselves at risk. And let those of us who are able open our hands in generosity, bringing the physical distance between us, bridging the physical distance between us through compassion and kindness. At this time of global awareness of our mutual interdependence, may all of humankind better learn to appreciate the strength that comes from being united in concern and love, rather than divided with hate and prejudice. And as we look to the future, may we all dedicate ourselves to the task of building and sustaining societies of equality, unity, tolerance, harmony, and peace. May we all know hope in the face of despair and trust when confronted by fear. Ken Yehi, may it be so. We continue with the song, Yesh Makom, There's a Place.
There's a place with answers we are seeking. There's a place to find our light of hope.
If there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there is to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. If there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. If there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart.
Na'aseh shalom, shalom ba'olam. Na'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam ve'imru shalom. Na'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam ve'imru shalom. Na'aseh shalom, shalom ha'olam. Na'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam ve'imru shalom.
In this community where we find strength and common purpose, we turn our minds and hearts toward all those who need our love and support, those who are ill, those who suffer pain of the body or spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. Tonight, I think we could put pretty much every name of every human being that we know on this list, but we want to share in particularly these members of our community and their loved ones. Larry Fisher, Jennifer Breen, Estelle Marco, Gail Gotthealth, Cece Stone, Joan Mann, Patty Becker, Titus Mendel, Bill Harris, and Greg Lowenthal. May all who suffer know that they are not alone. May they be healed quickly. May they experience a complete recovery, a refuah shlema, the renewal of their bodies and the renewal of their spirits.
Mekom ha'koach betocheinu, Mekorot ha'bracha michevrotenu. May the source of strength that dwells so deep within us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Shalom. Mekom ha'koach betocheinu, Mekorot ha'bracha michevrotenu. May those in need of healing know refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Shalom.
Our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every people and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We recall now our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. Last Saturday, I received an email from Karen McFall, Jack Hoffman's daughter, I was so shocked and so upset. He was one of the dearest members of our congregation. He was one of the most wonderful people I ever knew, and I didn't get to meet him until he was 93 years old, and he was shaming me into the fact that I had never learned how to do any kind of skiing, much less contemplating doing it at 95. I did take the opportunity to get to know Jack better, and I know so many of you who knew him have so many dear memories. He was an incredibly inquisitive man. He was a very funny man. He had incredible stories. He was the epitome of the greatest generation. And I will tell you that there are stories he told me about his time in the service and how he got into what he got into that I will never forget. Jack Hoffman died on Saturday at the age of 100. Now, that may not seem tragic to many people, 100 years old. Most of us will not see it. But for our congregation, it is a very painful and deeply felt loss. He was so much the part of life, a part of our lives. He so enriched every one of us who got to know him. Just a couple of weeks ago, not even, he and I were joking about the party that his daughter and all of his friends threw for him. It was beautiful. And it was on the Saturday night, just before the Wednesday, when our executive committee decided to close the temple. 1 week later, we would not have had the opportunity to honor him. Karen sent me the picture that he and I took after he died. And it is a keepsake that I will treasure. Yehi zichro livracha. May Jack's memory always be a blessing for all of us who knew him. May he inspire us. May he give us smiles. And may we remember him for the wonderful person that he was. Tonight, we also observe the yahrzeits of Michael Scala, William Eisen, Celia Meisner, Paul Rose, Richard Slade, Bruce Mumbrew, Max Ellenbogen, Lila Breyer Liederman, Ralph Sarkis, Philip Jacobs, Flora Safer, Benno Grunberg, Rose Sasson, Judy Weinstein, Alex Weinstein, Sam Weinstein, and Samuel Phillips. Yehi zichram livracha, may their memories bless us and provide us with some measure of comfort as we go about our days. As we come to the conclusion of our service, I want to thank everybody who participated through their comments, whether I was able to get them on the screen or not. You undoubtedly saw them in the chat box, and I hope that those of you who didn't have a chance to sign up for YouTube at the beginning will do so now that you see that you can be a part of the service too. On May 16th, our congregation will be hosting on Zoom. It'll be in webinar form, so it'll be look a little different on your screens. But we will be hosting a virtual variety show being produced by our incredible fundraising committee. Pardon me. And we need acts. I know some of you have already volunteered. You can use your iPhone. You can use a webcam. You can send it to us via email if it'll fit, or you can upload it. We'll help you with that. You can contact us through the contact form on our website. Even if you're not a member, if you have some connection to our congregation and you can do something fun, whether it's telling jokes or whatever it may be, please feel free to submit something or to contact us through that form, birminghamtemple.com. So that'll be May 16th, Saturday night at 7 o'clock. A great way to see everyone, well, virtually see everyone. I know at least a couple of people that are on our service tonight have already volunteered. Some of them, I know the Foremans in particular, have been posting entertaining videos online. We have a couple of very, very special guest stars. I don't want to intimidate anybody, but the star of the television program Younger and of the movie Hedwig and the Angry Inch, among many, many, many other things. Her name is Miriam Shore. She is the daughter of our congregants, Barbara Logan and Fran Shore. She will be performing with her partner, and we will also be hearing from Glenn Mello, who is a violist for the DSO. But the cutest acts will be the kids and just the regular people like us. I should mention too, Adam Shalom apparently can juggle. Did you know that?
No,
And he is going to be bravely juggling for us. So we ask that you pre-record them. Let us know if you have any questions, rabbi@birminghamtemple.com or the contact form. Please remember that if you're not receiving the newsletter and you're a member, to contact me and we'll get you squared away there. The newsletter is available to everyone throughout the entire planet at our website, big red button that says latest newsletter here. Thank you again for joining us. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to close with a song that was only recently introduced before we got into all of this. It's a version of Hine Matov. I forgot to pull it up, and I'll try to remember for the next episode. But what I wanted to share with you, and what I will next week, is a very, very ancient text of Hine Matov found at the Dead Sea, almost 2,000 years old. That's what we're singing tonight, a song that is almost 2,000 years old, and someone back then wrote it down. Our beliefs may have changed, but our connections to the past and our connections to each other right now, they matter. Stay safe, everybody.
טוב מנעים שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב מנעים שבת אחים גם יחד Behold how good it is when people dwell together living as one people, hand in hand. What keeps us safe and strong is that we have each other, one human family across the land. Hine matov manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov